Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, everybody. It is a joyous day. It is the third day, for some, the second day of back to school, for some, even more who started last week. This is our version, our day of access denied with myself and Sonia Thomas. And as we start up, want to check in to see how everyone's doing. But Sonia, you want to kick us off? How's your week started out?
Um, my week has started off pretty busy as usual, but it has been a good week for the Thomas household with the start of school and new milestones for my kids. And you know what? Let's just go to the basics: health and strength.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Health and strength.
Yeah, and I think for me, and just to kick it off, so I was just posted today is one of our alum, my special alum that's been with us through thick and thin, Miss Shamika Holt. It's a lot of people's birthday today, but I saw it popped up on there for her. So happy birthday! And I tell you, for my week, it started off well. You know, we thought we had school on Monday, but it was a kindergarten day, but it helped us get a dry run in. Because I was really, school usually starts on a Tuesday or Thursday. So me thinking it was Monday, I'm like, we just got to be ready. So we woke up Monday ready. We made it to the bus stop in time. The bus pulled up. Nobody was there. It was a couple of kids, and then they said, "Yep, it's just kindergarten." So
Me
that
and
was a good dry run.
you was laughing about that when we job. It was like, shoot, y'all ready.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great though, John. So how was his first day?
You know him. Like I think when you get to that teenager mode, Lil John is 13. Everything is negative, and I look at it as a glass half full and not half empty. So I let him get a little complaining in, but we ain't going for too much of that. We
Yeah.
ain't got time.
Yeah, like actually me and my girls are just having a conversation about that, right? Like that's like that social emotional awareness thing, like how to respond
Yeah, I'm
and
learning.
all of those things to different things, like to feelings. And so I like the way that you tried to like make him pivot into like solution mode versus,
Hmm.
him being
Negative Ned.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we got people signing in. I see Scott representing. Y'all post these
Hottie.
great pictures. We got Scotty Too Hottie. I think his son is out east. We got Shamika, who just hit 40. She hit the 40-40 club. We got Miss Taylor, who I seen her picture with all of her kids getting ready. She did like a before and after just to see how much they have grown. We got Miss Moore checking in. And then we got, the birthday shout outs for Shamika started.
Yeah, and Ria's birthday was yesterday.
Wow. Yeah, her. And then I think her brother was the day
Yeah,
before that.
I just realized they was twins. It's like,
Are they twins?
so yeah, her
Okay.
and Thomas are twins. I was like, I missed that.
I think they birthday twin. I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, I think they twin. I don't know. I had to ask her.
Rhea, you let us know, Rhea.
Yeah, how we missed that? That's
But we
great.
got some good things to talk about. Of course, as you guys are checking in, and I see Thomas reminding people that we're on. Like, we definitely want to talk about back to school, but when we talk about back to school, make sure it's not back to business as usual. Last week, we talked about some strategies that you could use to make sure we don't go back. We also want to talk about curriculum. That was one big thing that the board discussed last night was the wit and wisdom. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it, kind of the pros and cons. One comment was even made, we never took phonics out, but we still teach read. It was just a little back and forth, and me trying to understand, what works and what doesn't. And so, how has academic achievement increased during this time in the last 3 years? And then another big conversation, as all of us can think about, and we'll have a discussion, is safety. They created, it was a press release that came out last week that said, they're going to be patrolling the elementary schools. There was a lot of parents who came and said, hey, we don't want armed police officers or security people in elementary schools. They talked about what the studies show. And then I think the proposal or the counter initiative from the district was to say, it's not going to be armed. It's going to be presence on the outside, and they're still working on how do they do it on the inside. So those are just a couple of things. So safety, curriculum, and making sure we're not getting back to business as usual.
Those are very good. I'm sorry, the rabbit was messing with stuff.
Right.
He done made his way into the house. Y'all know I don't like him in the house. But anyway, made his way into the house because the garage is hot. But yeah, like those are very good topics. In particular, the literacy thing. I can about tell you who said what if it was board members. Yeah, I'm interested in get into those conversations.
Yeah, and I see Miss Taylor post. I'm headed to the school, so it seems like she's definitely not wanting to get back into back to business as usual. But yeah. let's talk a little bit about that. Like as we started, and what do you think, Sonya? You want to talk through the safety, or you want to talk through the curriculum with the reading?
I think that we always stay focused on what our mission is.
Mm-hmm.
And although safety is important, I think talking about the reading is essential. I think that we have the prison pipelines and we have all those things because of the lack of literacy. So
that is a good point. And so the conversation, we really want to get you guys' opinions. And before that, I'm gonna just start with a little slideshow of just what the first day of school looks like, and then I want to center why are we even having this conversation, Sonya, when we talk about kind of the results of the district as a whole, but definitely when you break it down by race, by part of town, by priority school, like those are the things that we also want to dig deep into. But the conversation, so about 3 years ago, which would have put us back in 2019, there was a mandate around, new curriculum, and, people loved it. Administrators loved it because it put everybody on the same page, teaching wise, to say, we're all teaching the same thing. We're all aligned. There was a member on the board, I want to say it was Jill Spearing, who was just not convinced. She had her own reading recovery program that she was really bought into. She was a former teacher. And she said, I'm just not convinced with this wooden wisdom. Instead of 6 years, let's do 3 years. And for us, that conversation has gone over a lot of people's head, because when we think about some of our schools like Tom Joy, and I got a letter, they're having like a back to school thing in 2 weeks. We looked at the scores at Tom Joy. They were maybe 6%, and then they were under 5% for both literacy and math. And then we looked at Ida B. Wells, which used to be called Caldwell. It was about in the same boat. And then we looked at Jerry Baxter, and we realized as we were getting over COVID, another pandemic that had already been here that we really didn't notice was the illiteracy of people in Black and brown communities, mainly with priority schools. And so as parents, I really wanted to get your take. Scott, I know you got kids out there, you said, and everybody on here has parents. Like, how important is reading to be successful in life? Like, all you guys are professionals. All you guys have to take time out, whether it's the employee manual, whether it's your timesheet. Like, how important is it to be able to read? And Sonya, you could start us off.
Man, if they don't do anything else in school, they should be taught how to read. They have the right to be taught how to read. Reading is a right. Reading is like having oxygen in your body. If you don't have enough of the oxygen in your body, then you don't supply oxygen to the main systems and organs in your body in order for them to function. That's how important reading is. Reading has nothing to do with how smart you are. Reading, 99% of all human beings can be taught how to read. And I hope I have identified or help you guys identify how important it is to know how to read. Reading is essential to learning. Mm-hmm. If you don't know how to read, then you will have trouble learning, and you'll have trouble learning past a 6th grade level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have, if you notice, you hear that a lot. My child was reading, in the 7th grade, reading on a 2nd grade reading level, or
Mm.
3rd or 4th grade or 5th grade or 6th grade reading level. As a matter of
Mm-hmm.
fact, most documents by the government are based on a 6th to 8th grade level because there's so many people who have not been taught how to read.
Mm. So, and just going back to some of the comments. So, Shamika, and shout out again. It's your birthday. I know Miss Taylor is usually on here as she is right now, like holding us down. But Shamika is like, yeah, priority, period. And then we go to Miss Moore. She says very. We go to Miss Taylor. She says it's number one on my list. You need to be able to do everything in life. Reading is the key to success. And we agree, and that's what becomes our main issue. And so one of the things that we do as a team, we read over different articles, like what's going on in the education landscape across the country, but really like what's going on in Nashville, because these are where our kids are. And it was an article that we read a few weeks ago. It says, Metro Nashville public school students are mostly testing at pre-pandemic levels in reading. That sounds good, right? It says though, which is like a stop. It wants you to stop. It says though, only 24.9% of students in grades 3 through 8 tested on or above grade level in reading this spring. And so you're looking at 24% across Metro. But when you have to break that down in your Tom Joys, in your Ida B. Wells, in your Jerry Baxters, formerly Graymar, in your Cumberlands, your Alex Greens, your Haynes, where do you think it is? Is it at that 24% in those schools, Sonia?
No, we're talking. So those numbers, the 24%, were those district numbers or was that state number?
District, so Metro Nashville.
There's approximately 6,500 third graders. So take 24% of that.
Yeah.
That's not good at all. I want to go back to what Miss Spearing was pushing, and it's probably a couple of members on the board. That was balanced literacy, and there
Mm-hmm.
was research, and there was data that showed that balanced literacy has hurt both Black and white children. It has hurt them tremendously, and what she was pushing has hurt many children. And the program that she was pushing has hurt many children across this country, similar programs to the one she's done. And when you look at the data and you look at her tenure and when she was pushing that, we have that has hurt many children in this district. So, Ms. Spearing, you have hurt many children in this school district, going back decades with the reading recovery and balanced literacy.
Yeah. And there was a whole fight. I mean, with our previous superintendent, I think at the time it was Dr. Joseph, if I'm correct, he made a move to change it. And then there was a backlash from a small number of people on the board, but it was enough to draw a line in the sand. And that line in the sand, unfortunately, was one of the reasons where ultimately he had to leave. Well, he resigned. And it was a lot of drama, but those are one of the things where it started at.
Yeah. And so here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are in 2022 when people still want to defend something that we have data and receipts, which are children, to show that reading recovery has hurt thousands upon thousands of children. And there is not a time, especially in the Black community, that she can point out or anybody can point out where it has increased academic amongst Black and brown children, especially. So we are not going with balanced literacy. It is horrible. It is critical. It is life stopping. It is a barrier. It is a roadblock to children knowing how to read.
So Nina, and big shout out to Nina. You know, it's the first of the school year. We're getting some of our heavy hitters back, and Nina, who's doing some amazing work around reading and engaging, based on a committee where it started with Propel. She says the school talks about the achievement gap. There is attitude gap addressing climate and environment for learning. What do you think she means by that? I think I can pull
Mhm.
that out, but attitude
Culture,
attitude gap, but the climate and environment.
the culture of the school,
Yeah, yeah,
the the culture of the leadership, um, the way that the mindset that people have when it comes to children, in particular, the bias that is shown for Black and Brown students. It's all of that. Um, to me, it's naming that there needs to be a mindset change amongst the leadership from top down. Top down. There needs to be a attitude change around partnership. We don't want your engagement anymore. We want your partnership. We know what's best for our children, and our voice matters as our children. Um, and I think that addresses all of that, Nina, when we talk about um, attitude gap, achievement gap. When we look at this increase in growth among as far as achievement goes, you got to look at who was celebrating. It was the Tennessee Department of Education. It was the district, but you got to look at who actually grew. White children. White children grew. If you look at the current data, Black and brown children did not grow. They did not grow. They did not have meaningful growth. And to return to baseline is to return, you know, to a mess. Like,
pre-pandemic level.
yeah, you went from shoot. What Miss Marpin say? You went from a F minus to F plus.
Hmm. And again, Sonya, one of the things I noticed at our back to school bash, Dickerson Road, coming up, and I mean, I'm trying to be funny because I'm remembering just the bad jokes on the bus. But if somebody said your mom worked on Dickerson Road, like we already know what it meant, and those were fighting words. And I saw a little bit of everything. I saw Black people, Latino, but I also saw white people who were in the struggle, who were not thriving in this system, and they were part of the priority school pathway as well.
Yeah, I saw it too. We've been seeing it. We've been knowing it. That's
We've
why
been seeing it.
we represent Black and Brown and those from struggling communities because that's who we represent. Um, yeah, it's we're in the it city. That word, we're in the it city, and trying to figure out what it means, right, for us.
Right, right.
It means for us.
So look at Miss Taylor. She says it breaks my heart to see a few of my children struggling to read because one thing that bothers me is people can get over on you in life. You need to know how to function in the world, and you literally have to read everything: school, work application, college application, instruction, documents, and sign. How can you function if you can't read? And I'm gonna tell you, I don't think it's the coffee, but that makes me emotional because that one comment solidifies our friends, our family, our former classmates, our neighbors on how we're doing in this new Nashville. Like you said, the it city. And I can tell you, they just now posting saying, we got, $12 an hour. For the longest it was $7.25. But Nashville has become so expensive, and it's literally a us versus them. It's people who are coming in making 125, and then it's people who are even working for the school system. They driving bus, they driving our precious cargo, just now start making 22. And so you wonder, why do we have a us versus them type of system?
Oh, I don't wonder anything.
Mm.
It's systemic institutionalized racism.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have nothing to wonder about that, John. It's not a wonder to me. It's a fact. I remember watching the documentary 13th. You got to
Mm-hmm.
go watch that. And it's another one I'll tell you about before we leave here. You need to go watch. You need to find the truth. Question everything. Question everybody. There you find truth. And I remember when during the civil rights movement, Robert Kennedy was testifying at the Senate, and I don't know what that senator's name was, and I got to figure that out. What stuck with me is Robert Kennedy was talking about and advocating for our forefathers and foremothers to be able to register to vote, to register and
Yeah.
to vote.
Yeah.
And at the time, a test had to be taken. Does it sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Test had to be taken in order to be able to vote. It was a step after, like, or before registration, like having your registration finalized. This was happening in the 60s, right? Not too long ago. And that senator told Bobby Kennedy, he was at the Senate. Bobby Kennedy was at the table that you see today when people are testifying with that microphone, and that man responded to him and said, "Who cares if they can't read past the 6th grade? That ain't his problem. That wasn't his problem." Because Bobby Kennedy was saying, "Hey, a lot of these people are registered to vote. Like, this test is above sixth grade level." And that senator responded to him, and he said, "Who cares if they can't read past 6th grade?" And that will forever be in my mind. I talk about it all the time because that'll forever be in my mind. Who cares if our children or you and I, whether or not we can read past the 6th grade? Nobody.
It's so ironic, and I see we got Nicole. It's the first week of school. We got the heavy hitters. We got Nicole Christman on here. We got Keisa Fowler. We got Rico Atkins. Like, thank you guys for tuning in. And the conversation we're having is essentially, in quotation marks, as Crystal says in St. Louis, make it make sense. And saying that you that's not your problem that people can't read is a saying, because I know that holds people back, that'll never be an issue of mine. But the policies that they create make sure it holds people back. I think Nina said it is specific outline by design. And all this, and so we know this, right? Okay, so I'm gonna take it somewhere, Sonia, and then I'm gonna go to one more. So Yvonne says, and our local politicians are not creating ways to undo this broken system that keeps marginalized people beneath the margins. And so the question is, this is where we're going. The question is, well, what you gonna do? If somebody smacking the back of your head every time you ride in that bus, and they just keep doing, and they don't stop, or they flicking at your ear every time they flicking at your ear, until we do something, it's never going to go away. And we all had that time where we didn't have to beat up the bully. And I'll say, there was a guy who ran for office and recently won. I think he got another election in November. But I remember this kid being dragged out. I remember this kid being banned from even coming to the state capitol. I remember him being arrested just multiple times. And you know what he did? He said, excuse my French, fuck it. Like, I know their rules and I'm going to beat them at their own game. And sometime in January, and I got to see this, the guy who was taken out in cuffs, the guy who was framed, this guy was framed by the Speaker of the House's chief of staff and said they created this phony document that said he broke the protection of order, and they locked him up again. And now he's going to be sworn in at the table of the same people who were plotting against him because he knew the rules. he knew the system. And so we got some people coming in. We got Yvonne says, are the local and black brown politicians on our side in regards to education? Are they sitting on the side of right? It's a good question that we'll look into, Yvonne, but it's a mixed bag. But definitely there's some people who are very anti side, and then there's some people who are kind of lukewarm. I don't know how many strong ones we got. Until we start rubbing the shoulders, I believe a lot can be done. Okay. What do you think, Sonya?
Sometimes I don't want to share my thoughts because it's full of cuss words
Yeah.
and big truths that people can't handle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as I look at local elections, state elections, I ask myself, are these the answers to our problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't answer that right now.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this. As you guys get out and vote and go to the polls, I want you to ask yourself something, and that is, do the views that these people have, do they align with my values? That's one question to start with. But
Mm-hmm.
I also want to impress upon you the homework we got to do during the election and even after people are elected. We need to track their views and how they vote and how they engage with our communities. And I think that's going to be key to really changing and making sure that we have people in places who are fighting for our people. Like those are some of the questions that we have to answer. Like people's agendas. Like really trying to figure out what people's agendas are as before they get there and even after, because folk change. They get to the big house and they change.
Mm-hmm. And so we have had a couple comments, and Miss Johnson's on fire. When people are tied to the paycheck, there'll never be solutions. Miss Taylor says it's a setup. They don't want us to succeed. They want us to stay blind. We're walking around eyes wide shut around people that's supposed to be for us, look like us, but are actually against us. It's time to wake up, parents. Shit have to change. Excuse my French. We got Yvonne agrees my soul to see how it's all played out. Robert Taylor says our schools are a reflection of our community values.
So, how do we change this? So, I'm going to commit to something.
Okay.
I am going to commit to putting together a focus group onto how we change this.
Okay.
How do we change this? And I'll make sure we put together not just a focus, not the ordinary focus group. Because usually like, focus groups get together and they talk. Those of you who know us, like we don't do talking meetings. Like I ain't got time for a whole bunch of meetings. I learned that from Rep Fuzz a long time ago. He said, folks just be meeting and not doing nothing. Well, thank you for your mentorship, because if we're going to meet about something, we're going to do something.
We're going to do something.
So, this helps, these conversations to help to know what parents care about. This was created to talk about the things that parents care the most about. And so in listening and reading what you're saying, Yvonne, Miss Krishan, Nina, Robert, I think that there's opportunity here to make an impact on our communities in a different way. We at Propel like to do things that are not the ordinary, right? Not business as usual. And I do see some opportunities for us to sit down at the table and strategize and to come up with some solutions. When we had our event and it was back to school, but not back to business as usual, that had everything to do with us. The back, not back to you business as usual. We weren't talking about nobody else. And our mission is changing around how we get stuff done. And that means, oh, she said shift the seats. You got that right. You got that right. Shift the seats. Maybe that's our campaign. We're gonna shift the seats. I love it. But I think that you are right, Yvonne. She says get people to vote, right? But I think what we have to do, and we're nonpartisan, is to educate people around what are you voting for.
Mm-hmm.
How many of us have shown up in booths and checked the mark, but don't know what we voted for?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's time to change that. What and who are we voting for? It matters. It matters. So this is a very good conversation to have, and very good questions to pose to people, and to pose to self. What am I voting for? Who am I voting for? Do the values align? What has been their track record? How do I hold them accountable to what they say they're going to do? And how do I keep an eye on what they're doing?
Right. Can I give I love these cheat sheets that I've just realized, like being on the board, when a bear is afraid, even though it's big and it's grizzly, when it's afraid, it will stand on its hind legs and put his hands up to do what? To look bigger than what it is. Even though it's already big, it wants to look bigger, so it stands up. What we don't realize, we don't got to make this, and this is a cheat sheet, and we don't have to do it this way, but we don't got to make this complicated. You got Krishan and her family, you got Yvonne and her family, you got Robert and his family, you got the Sonia and John, 10 families with 10 people. Because what I see people when they come, they only got 10 people, but they're real loud. It's not that the people who are getting stuff done, they only got two things. They got the people, Sonya, or they got what else?
The money.
They got the money. It was something on the Tennessee, and it said one lobbyist, I can't remember, they invested the most in the state legislature with funding candidates. It was like $2 million. They didn't have no people. They just had the money, mm-hmm. and they changed some laws. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't illegal. Mm-mm. They did it by the book, mm-hmm. but they changed the laws for their benefit. Mm-hmm. Now, they had money. But I done also seen if you got the people, 10 mm-hmm. people who want something changed in the school district, when they come to the board and they go before the podium, and one person comes, then two, then three, maybe even six.
Mm-hmm. I got a question. Who's our 50?
Mm-hmm. There you go.
I need to know who's got our back. Who's the 50?
But let's try. Let's do it as a test case. Like we got Robert, we got Yvonne, we got Krishan, we got Kendall. We got Kimberly White. Kimberly said Nashville has a lot of meetings about working in the community, but no one actually wants to do the work in the community unless it helps pockets or makes the city look good. You know why?
Yeah.
Because they ain't got children in Metro Nashville public schools, Kimberly.
And they don't care. Wait a minute. But what did we do last week?
Mm-hmm. Brought the city out.
Wait a minute. We brought the people. Mm-hmm. Of the city. The city representatives.
Words matter.
And we don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought about that. Somebody asked me, y'all know I think different than other people. So the things that hurt a lot of people's feelings probably don't hurt my feelings. But somebody asked me, was my feelings hurt because the mayor's office said they was gonna come and they didn't come, and then the district didn't come. And I said, absolutely not. Actually, it made me kind of happy because I want people to show me themselves. I want them to show me who you are.
Mhm.
I know how to move. And when you know how to move, that makes you powerful.
Mhm. We trying something though, and I keep going back to this. You know, I love history. I could never understand, guys, and correct me if I'm wrong. I could never understand. Japan was very small, right? Small island in comparison to United States. Maybe one of 100ths of the size of the U.S., right?
Mhm.
They had us on our knees. Germany almost took over the world.
Mhm.
But you know what they did? They brought their people out. In those small countries, made a big difference. Until people said, "Hey, we done had enough of getting our butt kicked by y'all small countries. We're gonna do something about it." And so I want to try something for September. I want to try something.
What you want to try, John?
I want to pack the board. I want to pack the board with real people
Can I
who
say
have a
something?
demand
Can I say
around
something?
literacy, increasing 24%.
Uh-huh.
As a whole is not enough. 14% when you think about Black or Latino or poor is definitely not, and it may be less.
Uh-huh.
And we just want you to see us and see what we look like, because you don't see us.
John, trying is lying. We don't try nothing.
Mm-hmm.
We just do it.
Mm-hmm.
We just do it. So what I hear you saying is you want to do that. Okay. Gotcha.
As Robert Taylor says, Davidson County has very low turnout. How do we convince the Black community? And again, it's not about convincing the community. It's about convincing more, because turnout is just low in every place, right? Like, we know that. How do we get more?
Boom.
That's the name of the game. If you got more gas, you can go further. It don't matter if you go fast. If the other person got more gas, you're going to be the first one to run out, and they're going to pass you because they got the gas. We need the gas. And Krishan says it. We stand as one and we make a mighty punch.
Let's make a mighty punch together. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. She
Yvonne
says,
said she can rally with us, so she with Krishan.
I'm
She
not
ain't
tired
tied to the dog.
Man, let's talk. Yvonne, like Yvonne, we've been trying to talk for a little bit now. Let's really talk. We've got some good plans around this. Robert says educating the voters while getting them to vote. The education piece will hopefully motivate them to vote as well. I do find it hard to motivate people. So I hear where you're going, Robert, but I don't think it's motivation. I don't think it's motivation. I think it's about incentivizing people. What I mean by that, I'm not always talking about money or gifts. What will the outcome be for them if they do? See, folk got to know, they got to be tied to outcomes. A lot of people don't vote or register to vote because they feel like it does not have a good outcome for them.
Right. Right.
Why they're not going to vote. So I don't want to motivate you to do something. What I want you to do is realize how the outcome impacts you. That's where we got to go with this. How does the outcome impact people? Because if it ain't benefiting them, or don't feel like it's benefiting them, they ain't gonna go do it. So you can't motivate me to do something that I don't feel like gonna benefit me. Can't do it. It's got to benefit. Yeah.
I'm back in the system, but I use paper and my voice to change how my granddaughter is serviced, because I don't want them, or trying to partner, they shift how they service her. No one wants a bad review.
Nobody wants a bad review. Y'all hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants a bad review. Nobody. School districts do not want bad reviews. As
Mm-hmm.
evidence, Metro schools have told their employees if they talk to medias about what's going on in their school, then they will be reassigned.
Mm-hmm.
They still wonder
Mm-hmm.
how I'm finding out stuff like that.
Yep,
You
people
can't
have
give
to
me
see it. Talk is cheap. Look, if people got involved, because I used to think also like, why do people get involved in gangs? Why do people get involved in fraternities and sororities and groups? It has to be what's in it for them. It could be safety, it could be money, or it could be the education of your child
yeah.
that'll
What
stop
is it?
generational curses.
And not just don't stop at education of your child. What is the outcome for my child after they've been educated?
Mm-hmm. Somebody emailed me and I was really impressed. And I was like, but damn, like that's like far fetched. They were like, don't lower the standards for getting into magnet schools. It was like my daughter was taking some course that's gonna get her into MIT. And I just had to say, man, look, I get it. I hear you. But right now, I'm not worried about the top 1%. Like I'm worried about the 80%. And we gotta, I mean, his daughter gonna be good from everything that he texts. She gonna be good either way. She may not make it into MIT, but she'll make it into Harvard. Like she good. We just trying to make sure people can read right now. Kids can read.
Let me tell you something. Don't you dare lower expectations and standards for our children. Who's talking that stuff? Who
Mhm.
said that?
People were really worried that, but it come from a place, and this is my personal opinion. I was like, yeah, like one thing I can promise, we won't lower the standards. But another thing is, it's just about it, it's not an issue that affects hardly anybody. Like when you think about getting into a Megs or MLK or a Hume Fog, I just had to go back to why they created the schools, and it takes my focus off of it just a little bit because it was never created to be equal and accommodating. It was created for a purpose of the people who left in the 70s when the schools integrated. And so they created some schools that you didn't have to live in a zone. Um, that there was no bus transportation, so you had to have the means. And so I thought it was meaningful, and I even responded. But then I had to think about the conversation we having is way up here. How do we make sure we set the standards high with no low expectations for the least of them, for the majority of the kids? Because that's the ones that get in low expectations, low standards.
It's what we fight for every day.
Yep.
It is igniting a movement that demands the equity that's needed in the policies.
Mm-hmm.
It is demanding that there is excellence in quality across the board and not just for some, but for all. It's stopping the wait. It is just that. And that's what our mission is tied to. There
Mm-hmm.
should not be 1 to 2 to 3 top schools in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
It should be that all children have the access to that. We heard a few weeks ago the young lady speak at the board that came from MLK, who was talking about the AP courses being available
Right.
to people.
Right.
And she could not understand why those courses, that level of expectation wasn't for all students.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There we go. There we go.
Not about lowering expectations. It is about more quality, not just by name, but by results. By results. Kids, it's about the results. It's about the receipts. It's about the outcomes. Those children who are getting into those schools have better outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
They have higher expectations,
Mm-hmm.
and they have some equity that
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of children are not privy to. That's what that is rooted and grounded in. And you're right, it was set up for specific people to get that.
But low expectations, it's across the whole district. So last year around this time, I was going to a high school because a parent was like, they wanted their kid in Abbott. And they wouldn't explain to him. Well, they never would answer his question. They never will acknowledge him. But finally, he got, I guess it was the AP, and the guy said, he blurted out, he was like, that's just too much of a heavy load. And the parent snapped. It's like, you don't know my daughter. You don't know what she can do. I know what she can do. And then I remember him texting me a picture of a report card after she was added to Abbott with a full load and playing sports, that she was on the honor roll. And it went back to how many times have we held our students back because we don't think they can do it?
Oh, all the time. That's why students have to have personalized plans.
Yeah.
The school that my son goes to now, they have personalized learning plans. And let me tell you, parents, let me tell y'all something. You need to be making a list of what excellence looks like for you. What is it that your child needs
Mm-hmm.
to reach their highest potential? And you need to go shopping. I went shopping. Around to schools with my list. My list designed to make sure that my son reaches his greatest potential. And when somebody didn't have it, I moved on. You ain't got what I need. You're not the school for my son to make sure that he reaches his greatest potential. And I shopped, and it wasn't easy. And it was hard. And I had to make some hard decisions. And I moved my child this year for 10th grade because I have to track progress to his goals.
Mm-hmm.
His goals are to enter a college, graduate from that college that offers him baseball opportunities. For me, it was to make sure that there was personalized learning. That there was a plan. There was a tracking to progress towards his goals. There were interventions put in place when we met challenges and roadblocks. For me, it was also culture. What did the people look like in that building? What were their expertise? How do they treat children? How do the children in the school treat children? Are they being molded? Okay, to be self-aware. How are the families taken care of? How are the families included as partners within that school? I had me a whole list, baby. I had me a whole list. And not only that, they told me, they had to show me. They had to show me. So if you talked about partnership, I want to see how you partner. I want to show, give me an example. Give me a reference. Oh, they wanted a reference from me too. I gave them a reference. Parents, question everything. Question everybody. And then I'm going to hold them accountable just like they're going to hold me accountable.
Yep.
That's partnership. Partnership is including what I say. Okay. And what I ask for in your plan around making the school culture and academic achievement better in the school, not engaging with me and telling me what you're going to do. It's like taking what I say seriously and being open to it and being real and authentic about taking my suggestions. I want to know how your school operates and who operates. I want to see everybody in your building, from your equipment to your people. I did that, John. And I meant it, and I was very serious about that. taking matters into my own hands.
And Yvonne goes back before we go back to Dr. Lawson, like parents alone have a lot of power. And Chanel says, absolutely. Personalized learning plans and educators and administrators trained in how to design, implement, and monitor the plan and goals. And I thought about that comment, and I thought about a lot of these comments, but over the course of a year, some kids play football, basketball, softball, soccer, cross country, track and field. It's not a one size fits all, even in the sports. They have a lot of sports, so you can pick and choose what route you want to go. And so when you think about personalized learning plans, it gives that kid the ability. Anybody who knows a kid, they're gonna choose 50, 11 million things, but they're gonna end up settling on one. But they have the experience, and once you know, you know. But the one size fits all approach, as Ms. Moffitt said, is just not working.
It's not working. It has never been done in public education.
Mm-hmm.
How does one go through life without a plan? I just got finished talking to my kid. Look, you will not get through this life if you don't have a plan. Dr. Lawson can vouch to this. She does life coaching. Our kids need life coaching.
Mm-hmm.
My significant other is a life coach. We talk about life coaching all the time. My daughters was just sitting in here with me, my beautiful daughters, and we often sit and congregate and talk about things, and we talk about like social, like thank you, Dr. Lawson, because you help me to like figure out what does that mean to my life, right? Like, you know, the coaching through life's things is how I'm gonna put it. We all need it. We all needed it. We all should have that from the day we hit this earth, right? Mm-hmm. And in our community, I'm determined like to make sure that even as we organize, we have goal setting and all of these things for our parents. Like our team is working on how do we set goals with our parents to build them, right? To build the power, to do exactly what we said, develop powerful parent leaders, right? And so if you are going into a school and nobody can tell you the plan for your I ain't talking about tier 1 groups. If they say the word group to you, tell them, no, what's the plan for my child? My child, Jessica, right? My child, Ronnie. What is your plan for my child? That's an easy question. And if people cannot sit down with you and do that, go shopping.
Mm-hmm.
And do it quickly. Do it immediately. And if they don't have it, this is my message to the public. We will find it.
Right.
We'll find
it. And Ms. Taylor says you better believe if they can kill it in sports, they don't care about their grades and they'll give them the grades. You know, that's 2020, 2022 pimping.
But go somewhere else where they do. It's out there. If they are not talking about their plan for academics. Last year, my son played on a baseball team in metro schools where they had to cancel practicing games because the kids didn't have the grades. They already, that tells me right there. Talk to other parents. If there is a star player on a team, and there's a school here in Nashville, I'm gonna call it out, East Magnet.
Mm-hmm.
They got kids that's good at them sports that are not going to college. They ain't doing good right now. I talk to their parents. If you talk to other parents and they say that their kids are not doing good and they the star players on the team, get out.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else. Find you somewhere because it doesn't matter the likelihood of them going to college to play a sport, if that's what their goal is.
Right, the ultimate goal.
It's not, look, it's not, I don't care what those coaches tell you. They're lying. They cannot make sure that somebody looks at your kid, because nobody wants to look at your kid if your kid got a 2.5 or below. They're not going to college to play sports. You have to change the trajectory of that quickly.
And let me say this just for people who may not even believe. I went to school, played on the basketball team with Mr. Basketball in the whole state. And they couldn't, one, they didn't have any major colleges looking at them because of what you're saying, Sonya. But two, and this is the sad thing, they couldn't even make it in Ball State. They had to drop out after a semester. Couldn't even make it in Ball State. And not saying Ball State is easy, but I'm saying the community college route is a bridge until you get to a major university. And it didn't work. And he was Mr. Basketball. He was one of 6 players in the whole state who was recognized for their athletic skill, but not recognized for their academic achievement. And he paid for it with his, not with his physical life, but with his love for basketball.
And let me tell you what that does to a person emotionally.
Oh man, okay.
If you are allowing somebody to do your child like that, you are causing or contributing to them having mental health problems.
Yep, spot on.
Because if they don't have the grades, and you and coaches and everybody are giving them the energy that they're going to be, or giving them like with no plan to get to where they need to go, that they're going to go to college. And when they get to that point and that doesn't happen, Robert said only 3% of high school players go on to play in college at any level. Are y'all listening to that?
So that means even people who are all Metro,
it don't matter
who won Mr. Basketball and Mr. Football.
Hand me this. Hand me them trophies over there.
Only 3%.
Hand me those plaques right there. True story. Everybody's after my son to play baseball.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All district 8A. I gotta make sure. All district 8A first team outfielder. District 8A 2022 Player of the Year runner up. Even made the super freshman list for the state of Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Baby, I ain't talk about none of that when I went to school. This don't matter.
Yeah.
You think I went up to the coaches like, but my boy, first, they already know my boy's this. They done heard about him. But my thing is this: if he don't have the grades, this doesn't matter.
Come on now.
This don't matter. All the accolades could, y'all look at this. But I didn't go to the schools. I was looking at, talking about this. Now, a part of his goals is that. So that was after I vetted out the other stuff. Because his goals mean something to him. But if you can't do something academic, he won't reach this. He won't get past this. This is all he'll be in high school. It'll stop in high school. It'll stop in high school. And then somebody else will come along and this will be a conversation about them.
Every year. Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah. You know, we had a conversations now, and I graduated 01, like who were the best basketball players coming out of Metro? And it sounds so insignificant, but I mean, it's only a few of them who made it to college, and I can count on one hand who made it to the pros.
I know one that's getting ready to go on trial for murder.
Wow.
The best.
The best.
So you as parents, this is developing your power. If it's the arts, even if it's the arts, let's not just talk about sports. Let's talk about the arts too. Because some of you have children who are gifted like in arts. Some of you have children that are gifted in STEM. I don't care if that school has those names attached to them or even the word magnet. Check their track record. How are the students doing as a whole in that school? What are their TCAP scores? Who's teaching? What's their resume? Baby, I wanted to know from the teachers to the trainer what their resume was in the school. Make you a checklist. Ain't nothing wrong with it. They're gonna take you serious when you come in there and you ask them. They were looking at me like, who the hell is this? I'm his mama. And I'm gonna make sure that we're checking off this list. I know that time is an essence for my son. Even if it's their IEP. Go to the school. How do they run their meetings? Who's running them? What's your track record of success? How many students with IEPs have come out of your school who have gone on to go to college? Yes, children with IEPs go to college with IEPs. Yes, colleges accept people with IEPs. Ask me how I know. When I went to Trevecca, Miss Thomas, do you have an IEP? Are y'all listening to me? There's some stuff we finna reinvent. We finna reinvest in. And one of the things that we're going to help you to create is, what does an excellent school look like for you? Join us on our campaign call next Tuesday. Is that right, John? 6 p.m. If you've gone through our fellowship, we need you on that call. We are doing some very, very big things, and we strategically got a plan with each and every one of you. Me and Miss Moppin have a one-on-one next week. There's some things that she had some ideas around. I need to be meeting with a lot of y'all. John needs to be meeting with a lot of y'all, Thomas and Tierra and Torvis. I need to be meeting with y'all on some regular basis and cadences because you got some good ideas. Yvonne says, are the art schools for everyone? Are they good anymore? I think the parents need to determine what is going to be best for their child. What did Robert say? We have students with IEPs at Meharry every year. Yes, you do. IEPs is just a plan. I have a disability, and every week I have a personalized plan as a 46-year-old woman. I hope we're giving some hope to some parents on here. I wish I could pull it up. If y'all don't believe me, John, maybe in a campaign meeting, I need to show them next week that I have a plan, an individualized plan. I'm an executive director and a co-founder of an organization, and I have a learning disability. I have a home, a car, and successful children. Stop telling people, letting people tell you that your children can't reach their greatest potential. And if they get in the way, move them. If they are getting in the way, it's because it's a couple of things. They don't know how to get your children to their greatest potential. I think people wake up in the morning caring about children generally, right? Like they like children. By 12 o'clock though, you got to realize the folk don't know what they're doing. And you've got to investigate to whether people know what they're doing, and you got to do it quickly. Ask me how I know. I went years fooling with folk that really did not know how to help my child. And when they finally pissed me off, here we are today. I never want another parent or grandparent to feel the way that I felt when I realized that my son was not getting the quality education that he needs and he deserves. And I'm going to end it right there.
Yeah. So today has been really good. When we talk about back to school, but not back to business as usual, these are the conversations we need to be having. Check us out for the campaign calls. Our alumni, Miss Taylor, Miss Moffin, Miss White, I saw on here, Scott Hill, and many others, because we got something planned for September, and it's using this conversation. This has been motivating. it's been motivating because the whole not back to business as usual, that's how everybody feeling. And
Another
so,
thing is, I'm gonna say this because I don't want to leave this out because somebody said IEP is the plan for success, not to fail. Your IEP probably shouldn't look the same every year. If your IEP is staying the same every year, there's no progress.
and just know, I'm not an IEP specialist, but I look at them and all they do is copy and paste.
So if your IEP, like, there should be a time limit as to when I'm gonna reach this goal. If your IEP look the same year after year after year after year, there was no real goal set and no time limit on the goal. There was no progress monitoring, tracking. So heads up, if your IEP looks the same year after year after year, that means your child ain't met no goals. Plain and simple as that, John. I got to go on and tell them. Shouldn't look the same. That means they ain't made no progress. Get them out. Get them out. Get them somewhere where they're going to make. Get them out. Run. Hair on fire. Run. Run.
We thank you guys again. Next Tuesday, 6 o'clock, we do it for an hour. We jump on because we get right to the business. Look forward to seeing many of you guys. We'll be following up. And if you got questions, always reach out to us. But other than that, we will see you Tuesday for a lot of you. And the rest of you, we'll see you next Wednesday.
Run.